Okay.
Hi, everybody. This is Jeremy from the Lake St. Catherine Association. Thank you for joining us for our virtual annual membership meeting this year. We hope you'll bear with us as we do our presentation. We'd rather be there in person with you at the country club having dinner like we always do, but we can't do that this year. So we've got all our trustees gathered today to do a presentation, and we're going to get right into it. So we thank you for all joining us this year with your virtual attendance under these unique circumstances. We've received no objections to proceeding in this manner, and we appreciate your understanding that this was the safest way to conduct the annual meeting this year. So let's get the meeting started. I'm going to hand it off to our president, Jim Kanders.
Thank you, Jeremy, and welcome to all of you who are tuned in here to our virtual meeting. As you may or may not know, the bylaws of the association require that annually we have a membership meeting to review the work done by the standing committees and by our trustees. For many years, of course, we used to do this through a potluck supper, and at the same time, we would have our annual meeting. That was short-lived with the virus this year. And fortunately, we have a very capable person in Jeremy Jones, who has the professional ability as an IT person for a company in the area that sets up the trade shows and meetings. So he has very nicely put this together for us, and we certainly appreciate it. So without further ado, we will move along. And tonight's agenda is presented here on the slide. We do have various items to get to. We do want to make special mention of Phil Pope's passing and our appreciation for the work he has done for the association. There'll be other details, the membership and all, that you'll be given very shortly. The minutes for last year's meeting are presented. I'd like to have any questions fielded at this time. Seeing none, we'll request a motion for approval. And because we're doing this virtually, we'll presume we're covered on the motion. We have had great experience with our work that Phil Pope has done for the association over the years. When I first started working with the board, Phil took me under his wing, and we used to go to DEC meetings. We went to FOVLAP meetings, and we always required a full day's travel and back in order to get to these meetings. But it was a great opportunity to visit with Phil, as he told me stories about his fishing trips to Alaska, and we discussed information about work that the association was doing with the state DEC. He is sadly missed, and we will certainly hope that the opportunity in the first of August will be a great time for us to remember him.
Okay, so we want to talk about, thank you, Jim. So we'd like to talk about the impact of COVID-19 on the Lake St. Catherine Association this year. Martha will talk about this a little bit later. She kicked butt this year on getting us grants. She did a great job. And we unfortunately lost one of those grants. We'll tell you more about that later, but that was one thing that happened. To date, and we'll talk about this later as well, we have a lower number of membership this year. and we've received less money than last year. And we can obviously understand that with folks concerned about their jobs and the way the economy is going. But it has had a big impact on our fundraising this year. We also, as part of one of the grants, we had a planned outreach program where we were going to set up some meetings around the lake, and we can't do that this year. So we modified that a little bit, and we've created some dockside chats. We'll talk about that a little bit later as well. Obviously, this is a big one here. We're having a virtual annual meeting instead of being at the country club having a nice dinner and catching up with all our lake neighbors this year. And the boat parade had to be changed for some safety precautions as well, but we were very happy to be able to still do that this year and have something on the lake for everybody to see. So, and Kemi will talk about the boat parade a little bit later. So now I'll introduce Martha Poffett, the Vice President of Lake St. Catherine Association, and she'll talk about our priorities for 2020.
Thank you, Jer. I'm coming to you from 1444 Westlake Road, where we live year-round, and it's an honor to serve alongside this wonderful Board of Trustees. Slide 8, on our website, you will find a link to a manuscript that describes the last 40 years of strategic decisions made by the association, which we believe to be science-driven and evidence-based. And in this year, more than ever, those principles inform our priorities. So what are they? Number one, Jeff Crandall will speak to you about our experience and those of other Vermont lakes with the latest state-of-the-art herbicide for Cellacor. Suffice it to say that we are the fortunate beneficiary of this product that is both safer and more effective, with results that even exceeded our wildest expectations. Number two, it must be said that the herbicide, however, is only one of 8 strategies that we employ to continually improve our watershed. And every year we rebalance our investment to increasingly emphasize the divers who you may see in 10 or so specific areas with their suction harvesting, which is as more successful in addressing milfoil growth. Number 3, we are pleased with the collaboration that we have with the Poultney-Meadowee Natural Resources Conservation District. They were able to get funding for us for 6 projects this year that benefit Lake St. Catherine, including cleaning up some streams and culverts and ditches in eroded areas that can bring excessive nutrients and sediment into our lake. Number 4, since we all have a role to play, I will speak with you momentarily about how you can feel more included in making our lake an ever more pristine watershed. Next slide, please. Number 5, likewise, our boat launch greeter program has expanded to do inspections on more boats in high traffic dates and times. And number 6, an exciting development is the gracious welcome that the association has received by officials of the state park to capture the boats launched at the park annually, with stationing an additional boat inspector as folks register upon arrival. Number 7, I mentioned earlier the importance of us systematically building a reputation that we are a lake community that can deliver on our promises, and to become a model for an overall watershed plan that positions us for hopefully even more clean water funding in 2021 and beyond. Number 8, Jeremy will speak to you more about the positive momentum in exploring options for the long-term future of Little Lake shortly. But for my part, I will conclude with a little review of this year's, kind of case study of what we thought the year was going to be like and how it evolved. Next slide, please. In May, our budget was all set and we were raring to go. The governor's executive order, however, brought a pause, calling into question whether lakes actually had essential workers. If our herbicide vendor or our divers or the Poultney-Meadowee group or our greeters could not perform, then our year would have gone from chock full to totally up in the air. And then we learned that the DEC watershed grant that we worked really hard on last year that set up our boat inspection program at the state park was canceled. Seemingly the next day, we received notification that our bread and butter DEC grant and aid had been zeroed out in the state budget, along with those of all Vermont lakes. The value of this was $33,000 last year. We also recognized the economic hardship of our lake members and how we needed to be realistic on what they could contribute in such a year of uncertainty. However, we refused to go backwards. So rather than retreat, we set out to find creative ways to make a difference on your behalf. We recasted our budget and had contingency plans for any eventuality. You know, cash management and timing is a significant part of what we do at the association, given the considerable lag time in the receipt of any external funds. So we are grateful, we must say, for the solid commitment of our municipalities, both Poultney and Wells, who give us $15,000 and $12,000 respectively. And then we were able to breathe a sigh of relief that we were able to bring in some outside resources. Slide 12, please. My value to you is more after Labor Day and before Memorial Day, when we build relationships with organizations supporting lakes and ponds in Vermont through grants. And in this past year, we have been amply blessed by the Lake Champlain Basin program that funds improvements in watersheds that flow into Lake Champlain, such as ours. And we received not one, but 4 grants totaling $40,000, which was almost a third of last year's total income to the association. Number 1, pollution prevention. This is intended to engage homeowners to make modest changes to their properties that reduce runoff from storms that are crossing their yards into the lake that bring an overabundance of nutrients and sedimentation that damages the water body and fuels the growth of milfoil. We partner with the Poultney Meadow Weed Group, who perform property reviews at no charge and plantings paid for from the grant. The program is called Lakewise, and your civic participation can earn you an award. And when we do it all together, we create a community involved in caring about the lake, as well as building a reputation as a progressive, forward-thinking watershed worthy of future funding. We hope that you will sign up for Lakewise on our website for this year or next. Number 2, aquatic invasive species spread prevention. So, you know, we control and maintain the spread of milfoil, et cetera, with the divers suction harvesting in conjunction with the one-time herbicide application. But to prevent invasive species from entering our lake, we have the greeters, who you may have met when launching your boat. And this year's grant helped us expand their hours by 25%. It also funded the divers who are taking a special look at the channel, both north and south, both to eradicate milfoil, yes, but also to look for the signs of any zebra mussels that had been seen recently in Lake Dunmore, only 40 miles away, and to be vigilant in checking boat reservoirs where their larvae might reside. This grant was just shy of $15,000. Number 3, we know that grants may be short-lived and that we needed at the same time a sustainability plan for the long pull. So an organizational support grant funds our website, our ability to communicate often with you so that our members are fully informed, and as well to build the association infrastructure through software to manage and grow our membership. It is crucial that all lake residents become members of the association. If you are, and your neighbor isn't, we hope that you'll consider being an ambassador for us. Number 4, finally, we were blessed with an emergency grant when lake associations were wondering just how they were going to make it in May and June of this year. That $3,500 helped us to get over the hump, to redo our finances and pay the invoices that we had already encumbered. And then after we held our breath through June, finally the sun came back out in July when we learned that the federal support to states permitted Vermont to restore our grant and aid. And even though it's at a level of, say, $27,000 instead of $33,000, it permitted us to revive our boat inspection pilot program at the state park, to pay our vendors, and to provide the cash flow necessary until our external grants from the Lake Champlain Basin come at the end of the season. All of these efforts at the end of the day address continual improvements in water quality. And so now I hand you off to Mary Jo to tell you more about that.
Thank you, Martha. So I'm Mary Jo Teeter, and I lead the water quality program on Lake St. Catherine. Lake St. Catherine, we've been involved in water quality monitoring for over 40 years, starting with the lay monitoring program, which has been going on as volunteers take samples for a minimum of 8 weeks during the summer, beginning Memorial Day, for analysis to establish baseline water quality conditions and track long-term nutrient enrichment. Measuring total phosphorus concentration, chlorophyll A, and the water transparency with a Secchi dish. Higher phosphorus equals increase of algae and cyanobacteria. Chlorophyll A is a pigment measurement, and that ties into the clarity that the Secchi disk reads. Monitoring trends over time combined with the impact of large weather events over the last 5 years, which contributed to severe road erosion, flooding, and water quality consequences, have prompted the development of a stormwater master plan for our watershed, which is the Wells River watershed. Increased stormwater runoff leads to a higher magnitude of flood flows and greater erosive power in stream channels, increasing the delivery of sediment and nutrients and other pollutants into our waterways, increasing flooding conflicts with improved properties downstream. Stormwater planning process, in short, is to identify the areas of high input of surface and water with the feedback from local stakeholders. Projects are listed of all the known problems. So we met in Wells with Poultney Meadowy Conservation District and Fitzgerald Environmental Resources to discuss these priorities. There must have been about 20 people there. So the sites were prioritized. They probably came up with maybe 50 sites, and they were prioritized strategically to address the areas that were most likely to succeed and that we could get funding for. So we have 6 sites this year that are listed on the slide. Identifying the sources of increased stormwater runoff associated with the nutrient sediments, phosphorus reducing projects are particularly of importance to our water quality concerns here on Lake St. Catherine. Stormwater mitigation projects to reduce or eliminate stormwater source by retrofitting older underperforming features like culverts, back road erosion projects, improving floodplain access for the river corridor to reduce the impact of nutrient and sediment load. In addition to stormwater projects, the importance of the shoreline projects included lake-wise assessments. Poultney Meadowy Natural Resources Conservation District, in partnership with the DEC Lakes and Ponds, identified 10 lakeshore zones where promotion of increased natural buffers and decreased impervious surfaces might have a positive impact on water quality. The full plan is available on the website. We would encourage homeowners to consideration signing up for the assessment from Poultney Meadowy Natural Resources Conservation District. And we've also been very fortunate and benefit from the district to have native plant nursery right here in Poultney. The LEAP program, Lake Education Action Program, which is also active through the district, allows homeowners to partake in best management practices for conserving lake resources. With the help of high school and college interns, Poultney Meadowy Conservation District plant native trees and shrubs on lake shores to create buffer zone or a rain garden to filter off runoff. Through the partnership we have with DEC and Poultney Meadowy Natural Resources Conservation District, we are fortunate to be the beneficiaries of these grant-funded programs to improve water quality and the quality of life on our lake. Moving forward, it's going to be important for us to join with other organizations within our watershed to create and promote a watershed action plan. Our clean water service provider will apply for block funding to assist in funding projects in our watershed to slow the impact of storm water runoff and nutrient loading in our lakes and tributaries. These include the involvement of our towns, as well as our associations and partners. The DEC Lakes and Ponds Division will continue to administrate the grant and aid funding, which helps us with our in-lake projects such as DASH, greeters, programs, treatments, and anything that requires an in-water permit. That's about it for me. We'd also like to take note that the Binghams down on, I believe it's Peninsula Drive, were our first award winners of the Lake-wide Awards, and we are hoping that others will work on their properties and get assessments, and we'll have more awards around the lake. It's really something to be proud of.
Thanks, Mary Jo. It's now Jeff Crandall will talk about our milfoil control program.
Thanks, Jeremy. I'm Jeff Crandall. I'm the chair of our milfoil control program. And first, I wanted to talk a little bit about 2019 and what we did, because it's helpful context for what we're doing in 2020. But back in 2019, we took a very balanced approach. If you take a look at the map on the left side of the slide, you'll see just how abundant milfoil was throughout the lake system at the end of 2018. And if you compare that with the map on the right, that shows the milfoil, allocation of milfoil plants throughout the lake based on our survey at the end of 2019. As you'll see, there is quite a remarkable difference in the amount of milfoil that was in the lake at the end of 2019. And so what did we do in 2019? First, we took a very balanced approach. We relied predominantly on our diver-assisted suction harvesting program, also known as DASH. And we basically targeted just under 66 acres in 2019. We also used Priscillacor, which, as Martha mentioned earlier, is really the state-of-the-art treatment program for controlling milfoil. But even then, there were only just over 38 acres targeted last year with Priscillacor. So moving on to the next slide, this talks about our approach for 2020. So again, we focused predominantly on DASH, and there were a total of 10 sites that we targeted, but due to the remarkable reduction in milfoil that we saw at the end of 2019, there were only just under 38 acres being addressed by our suction harvesting program this year. And as far as Priscillacor goes, there are only 3 sites covering 18.3 acres that were treated this year. The first is up in the Lily Pond. The second is the north end of North Bay, and the third is the lower portion of the channel. And nothing else in the lake system was treated with Priscillacor this year. Some may ask, why did we not treat the entire channel? And the reason is that we received a grant that was targeted only to using suction harvesting in the channel itself. So what we did is the north half of the channel we addressed through suction harvesting, the lower half we addressed through Priscillacor. So the bottom line is there was a 45% reduction in the amount of acreage we needed to address for milfoil control this year. Went from 103.9 acres in 2019 down to 57 this year. And as part of that, there was a 52% reduction of Priscillacor acres from the prior year. Just to touch base on Priscillacor just for a moment, I know we talked about it at our meetings over the past year or so, but it is a total state-of-the-art product. It's received a very favorable rating from the EPA, and basically a direct quote from the EPA is that the product is, quote, virtually non-toxic to humans and animals. It's longer lasting. It leaves the water system very quickly. And in comparison to Renovate, which is the product we use for spot treatment for the few years before Priscillacor came in the market, it allows for the resumption of water use for all purposes, including irrigation, in an extremely short period of time. A couple of other notes on 2020 is we were able to get permission from the state DEC to treat with Priscillacor in June, well in advance of the prime July 4th holiday weekend. Last year, we were not able to treat until after the July 4th week. And the reason for that is we were in the middle of obtaining a new permit from the state. And because of the timing and approval process, involved in that, we had to hold off until the middle of July, which we recognized was not ideal. So going forward, we are going to be targeting late June for any future treatments. Diver-assisted suction harvesting, we started that in June. So bottom line is where we are today. The main lake itself is in absolutely great shape. There's very little milfoil growth. Our DASH team reported that they didn't find any, significant sites this year. It's the first time that's happened. Again, this is in the main lake. But the other piece of good news is that the native plant growth, which is predominantly native pondweed, which has been in the lake for a very long period of time, is in healthy and good shape. So turning to the next slide, I just wanted to touch upon briefly, what can we all do? And if you see milfoil growing around your dock in your swimming area, it would be great if you could pull it out. Just ripping the plant from the top or the middle isn't going to do anything. You really have to get your fingers, down into the lake bed and pull out that pesky root system. Second, if you see floating milfoil floating around your dock, or even if you're out in your kayak and you see it going by, I'll just reach over, pull it up, put it in my kayak, my canoe, my boat, dispose of it on shore when I get back. And part of the reason for that is every little scrap of milfoil that's floating on the surface of the water will eventually sink, reroot, and then the whole problem of milfoil spreading will start from there. And just on pausing on that slide for a minute, the picture that was posted here, this was a picture that was taken on the Little Lake back on June 21st. So as you'll see, even though the main lake is in pretty good shape, there's still quite a bit of milfoil in the Little Lake, which I'm going to talk about in a minute. So going to the next slide, just wanted to focus for a couple of minutes on what our future plans. We're going to continue to focus on our DASH program, and we'll use Priscilla Core, as needed. But again, we'd like DASH to be our main focus. Right now, the major source of milfoil in the lake is now in the Little Lake itself. And there are two obvious problems with that. Number one, for the Little Lake property owners, having that abundant milfoil growth around your docks, your swimming areas, it prevents you from using your boats the way you would like. We recognize that this is a huge issue. And second is, as long as the milfoil is in the Little Lake, it's going to continue to fragment and spread. And it will eventually reseed the rest of the lake system. And given all the progress that's been made, obviously that is not an ideal situation. And every boat leaving Little Lake is bringing milfoil with it, and people, of course, I understand this. They stop, reverse the propeller when they get to the channel or just north of the bridge, and that milfoil is left behind, and ultimately every fragment is going to reseed where it falls. The other source of fragmentation is we know that the Little Lake has been using a mechanical harvesting machine down there. We're very familiar with that machine. In fact, from the late 1970s until 2003, that was really the association's, only tool for addressing the milfoil growth. And what the conveyor does, it's very successful in pulling a lot of milfoil out and, helping to dispose of it on land. But unfortunately, a fair amount of milfoil does escape, and every fragment, as I said, is ultimately going to wind up, landing somewhere else and basically reseeding. We've gotten questions over the past few years, how come the Lake Association has not attempted to treat in the Little Lake? And the answer is we have. And we were asked by the Lake St. Catherine Conservation Fund to not treat in an effort to allow them to try the approaches that they've been taking over the past few years. And so it's not for lack of trying, it's out of our desire to be deferential towards the approaches that the fund wanted to try. But we think we've gotten to a point, given how clean the main lake is and given the risk to the entire lake system of the Little Lake's milfoil growth, and the fact that it's obviously a huge problem for the property owners down there. What we'd like to do is to propose a 3-year treatment plan for the Little Lake. And the reason it's 3 years and not 1 year is our permit from the state only allows us to treat 40% of any particular lake body at once. And the Little Lake, like the Lily Pond, is considered a separate lake body. So 40% is the most we could do at any point in time. Our existing permit, just to be clear, covers the entire lake, and the Little Lake, of course, is an integral part of the entire lake. So there's no additional permitting or anything like that in order for us to treat down there. This would be very expensive. We got an estimate from Solitude Lake Management, which is the contractor we use for our Priscilla core treatments, and they said if we had done this in 2020, the cost just for that first year would have been about $32,000. So this is something we'd like to propose, but it's essential that we have the backing of the Little Lake community. We'd love to hear from you. You can email us, you can reach out to us on the website, but your support is very important. And if it's there, then we're definitely very eager and anxious to work with you. Second, as was mentioned earlier, we had a kind of a big hole in our budget this year, particularly because the loss of our main grant from the state. And last year, even with that main grant, we had to do a pretty targeted outreach to our membership to try and raise additional funds just to cover what we wanted to do in the main lake last year. So if we're going to do this, we're going to need additional financial support. So, if there are ways that the members of the Little Lake community could help us bridge the financial gap that we think we would face, we would otherwise be very eager to partner with the Little Lake community in an effort to bring the milfoil situation under control. And once we do have the Little Lake's milfoil growth under control, it's going to have a very beneficial impact on the lake as a whole, because the less milfoil in any part of the lake, that means there's less spreading throughout the lake system, less need for Priscilla core treatments in the future, less expenses associated potentially with DASH. And what that would allow us to do is to allocate financial resources to other significant and important lake priorities, such as continuing to improve water quality. So that's my presentation, and I wanted to turn it over to John, who's going to talk about our greeter program.
Oh, hi, thanks, Jeff. A little technical problem here. Unfortunately, there's only one Jeremy, and he can't be in everyone's house to deal with the problems that occur. Okay, so our boat launch monitoring program is basically what you see the children down at the boat launch and at the state park with the yellow T-shirts on. And we've had to modify our greeter program this year to comply with the present COVID situation. We're not able to pass out literature, which always is helpful, especially to new people that choose to use our lake. And we've been less hands-on. If a bilge plug has to be removed or some vegetation removed, we ask that the boat owner does it. So we're pretty much complying with all the regulations. So the main purpose, obviously, is to make everyone aware of invasive species. And the first question that the greeters usually ask is, where and when was the last time you launched your boat? And after a couple weeks, any vegetation or anything dies, and it's not as big a problem. So, and there's a few lakes within our region, mostly Lake Champlain and Lake George, that have almost run the gamut of invasive species. So when we find out that people have been in those lakes prior to coming to Lake St. Catherine, we do a real diligent search to make sure nothing's being brought into our lake. Because of the prowess of our Vice President Martha grant writing prowess, we were able to secure funds to increase the hours that we monitor the boat launch. And this year, again, as she had said, we're now at the state park. So last year we did around 1,800 boats that we inspected, and this year we're on track with both sites to do over 2,300. Again, Jeremy, I can't see the slides, but if you go to the one on invasive species, I'll just go over a couple of them. Okay, so zebra mussels, that is recently, as Martha said, was in Lake Dunsmore, but it's also been in Champlain and Lake George, and also years ago there was a spot at Lake Bomazene where they had zebra mussels. The spiny water flea, also Lake George, and that attaches to the fishing lines and the downrigger cables, and it's a real nuisance. And that's one we really don't want. We don't want any of them. The starry stonewort is a bushy bright green macroalgae that's not in our area, and hopefully it never will be. And then water chestnuts have been in Bomazene, and Asian clams are in Lake George and Champlain. So these are all the things that we have to keep an eye out for. And as people who own property on the lake, we have to be really diligent. If you see something changed around your area, your dock or anything, just let us know, and we'll come out to see. And hopefully it's nothing. And again, our main focus is to educate everyone on what invasive species are, and just make sure that they're diligent when they're launching boats in and out of Lake St. Catherine. Okay, Jeremy, thanks a lot.
Hey, thanks, John. And I'll just leave up the slide here for a second of the picture of the kids working at both areas, the boat launch and at the state park. So we'll just show that real quick.
Yeah, okay. That and again, those are the supervisors at the state park. They've been great. They're very welcoming, and even though the attendance at the state park, they opened a month later than they normally do, right before July 4th, when they normally open on Memorial Day. We have our foot in the door there, and hopefully for years to come, we'll be down there monitoring all of the visitors that use the state park. So, thank you.
Thanks, John. And now Kemi McShane will talk about the boat parade. Hey, Kemi.
Hi. Thank you for coming and joining us at our annual membership meeting virtually this year. I'm really thrilled to tell you that our 8th annual boat parade was a huge success. We had 22 boats registered and 19 actually participated. We had to follow a different format this year. We decided not to seek sponsors, as we knew that many of our local businesses were experiencing hardship from the COVID-19, and therefore we did not have our 4 judge stands. We decided to go online and allow the community to vote, and there were 150 votes. We always have 4 categories for our boats. We have the best overall, we have the most original, we have the funniest, and the most patriotic. And on the web page, Jeremy was able to post our winners, and we had the best overall was the ski school. The most original boat was the ice cream boat. The funniest boat was the foul play. And our most patriotic boat was Party Like a Patriot. So we really want to thank everybody for participating, and for all the people that came out on the lake to view the the parade. We usually hold the parade on the 4th of July, and we started at 1 o'clock, and we tried to travel the whole lake. So again, thank you for all your help this year and your participation.
Thanks, Kimmy.
You're welcome.
John will come back and talk about one specific boat in the boat parade. After he unmutes himself. There he goes.
Okay, there we go. Okay, we had local high school and college students from the Pulteney Wells area that staff our boat launch in State Park. They took time off from inspecting boats to participate in the boat parade. And as you can see, the message this year, the focus was on spreading the message of preventing the introduction of zebra mussels into Lake St. Catherine. So they were really enthusiastic. They had a great time. And when you see them down at the launch, just let them know that they're doing a great job. So they all come back next year. Thank you.
Thanks, John and Kemi. Okay, Elaine, our treasurer, will talk about our membership report. No, Elaine, you got to unmute yourself. And John, if you could mute your mic.
There we go. Now I need to see the pages. I'm looking at myself. I would like to see the schedule.
You can't see the slide?
No, I'm seeing myself.
Can everybody else see the slide?
Yes.
Well, we had 332 active members so far. And then there are some other members who have paid if they joined last year, but most of them have been members for quite a long time. And there's 32 of those who have yet to pay for their dues for this year and maybe a little more. We were pretty excited when people did send more than the $100 that was expected. Quite a few. Thank you. Excuse me, 143 or something like that, I believe. No, yes, 114. I got to read the number correctly. And that is always wonderful when they can send more. But I do know that there are a lot of folks with their jobs are on hold, and so their finances are low. And so if that's the reason you haven't sent, we do have a $35 associate member level if you could help us in that manner. Let's see. This is the income slide, please.
Okay.
I don't know what folks are seeing because I still am looking at myself.
It's the projected income slide.
Projected income, yes. We're only about $5,000 off of what we'd like to have. And our expenses, it makes it look like we have more money coming in than we are going to go out. Hopefully that will be the case. I hope that's what will turn out to be. But the problem is we're always uncertain as to when and if these grants come in. Even if it looks like we have extra money in the bank account, there's a lot of bills that are not in yet for what we've already decided to use. Like Dash has of course not finished, so we don't have their bills, and Lake Solitude has not sent us their bills as many yet. So is there another slide there, Jeff?
Nope, I think that's everything, Elaine.
Is it? Okay.
Yep.
And thank you again, folks, for sending your money. We don't mind if you do go online, and we would love it if you'd send me a check. Okay. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Elaine. And if you do send in your dues, you get a nice letter from Elaine thanking you for I know she likes doing the correspondence with everybody, don't you,
Yes,
Elaine?
I love writing to people and they write back to me, which is really special.
That's great. All right, thanks, Elaine. Okay. Okay, so I'll talk a little bit about some of the things we do to try to communicate with you out there. This is obviously one way. We want to make sure we get all the information to you guys. As it happens, we try to keep the website, which is listed there, as up to date as we can. Anytime there's Lake St. Catherine news, we work really hard to get it up there right away so you can learn about what's going on. We also like to participate on Facebook, so we've got our Facebook page. We'll post all the news that we have, and we also will post up pictures of sunsets and things around the lake to keep everybody interested and start discussions about the lake. So if you're on Facebook, follow us there, share our posts, get the word out about all the work we're doing, and that'll help us with our membership. The spring newsletter went out in May, and we'll start working on the fall newsletter this week to have that ready before the end of the season here in September. And we also want to make sure you know about dockside chats. We are upset that we don't get to see you in person at our annual meeting like we do once a year, but we still want to try to have some face-to-face interactions with everybody in the lake community. So we set up a little program called Dockside Chat. If you'd like to have one of the trustees come out and pull up on their boat or their kayak or their jet ski and have a nice, safely, socially distant conversation with you from the water to your dock, email us at info@lakestcatherine.org and schedule that, and we'll get you on the calendar and somebody will come see you and talk about the lake. We also want to talk to you about a joint meeting with the Lake St. Catherine Conservation Fund. So we have been working with them to set up a meeting, and this will be taking place on August 25th. It'll be a virtual meeting that'll involve both boards. It will also include the Vermont DEC, and it'll include a limnologist, Jennifer Jones, who's from Michigan. It's going to be a moderated panel. We're going to have our moderator throwing the questions back and forth, and it'll be recorded and posted on YouTube for everybody in the lake community to be able to view at their convenience. The way the meeting is going to work is we're going to have some opening statements by both boards, and then the scientists are going to get right into the details of lake management topics. Specifically, Jennifer Jones will do a presentation on aeration and introducing bioenzymes into the lake, which she is a proponent of for reducing muck and weed control. The DEC will then give a presentation. They recently, back in January of 2019, they released a paper on aeration and its use in Vermont lakes. So they've made some determinations on how they feel that works. So they will give a presentation. And then after that 20-minute alternating presentation, the scientists will have a open question and answer discussion where they will ask each other questions back and forth for 20 minutes. And then after that, it'll open up questions for the board to be able to ask questions of the scientists. And there'll be many topics will be on the table, but the big topic will be the health of the Little Lake. So it's good that both groups are endeavoring to work together to help the Little Lake. Jeff talked about one potential thing that we can help with. The Little Lake Conservation Fund is also concerned about sediment. So those are things we'll be able to talk about at this meeting, and you will be able to watch the discussion of the scientists and the questions that both boards ask the scientists, and you'll be able to be more informed on the topics. So we expect that to be recorded August 25th, that evening, and we will do our best to get that posted online simultaneously of both groups on YouTube, and we'll give you that link so you can watch it when convenient for you. So there'll be more information about that if you check our website. And if you are a member of the association, you would have received an email about the joint announcement of this meeting yesterday. So you can read more about the specific details on our website. Okay, so we're going to talk about lake safety. Unfortunately, Frank Callahan, who does our lake safety, was feeling ill this morning, so we're going to present his slide for him. He is very upset that he's not able to do the boating safety courses this year. Every year, the Lake St. Catherine Association offers 2 boating safety courses, one in Pulteney and one in Wells. And if you attend this 2-night class and you pass the test, you get your boating license. Anybody who is born after January 1st of 1974, you need to have passed a boating course. So since we can't help you with that this year because we can't have in-person meetings for safety, you can do it online, and there is a cost involved. It's $29.99, and you can do it on boat-ed.com, and you can take the boating safety course there, and if you pass the test, they will issue a license that is valid in Vermont. Frank also takes care of all the buoys and markers around the lake. We know that there are a few that have gone missing or moved. We are on that. We've ordered new buoys and some markers that'll be going out very soon. And as always, Frank likes to thank his buoy buddies around the lake who store some of the buoys over the winter and then also put them in to help us out in the spring. And you may have noticed some of the buoys didn't go out right away. It's because maybe some of the buoy buddies didn't come up until later because of safety issues with COVID. We do want to let you know that the game warden and the VT State Police Marine Division are always patrolling the lake, or not always, but are here doing that. Our game warden, Dustin Searcy, his phone number is there. He's here at least 2 to 3 times a week patrolling the lake. So he has indicated to us, if you see any unsafe boating, please let him know so he can address it for us. Frequent issues that we hear about online through emails and postings online are speeding through the channel and unsafe jet ski operation. You may have noticed that there's a lot of jet ski activity after dusk, which is not allowed because they don't have lights. So if you see unsafe boating, please let Dustin know. The best thing you can do is if you can take a picture, if you can take a video, if you can mark down the person's registration number on their vessel, maybe see where they go after if they park their vehicle at their camp. And you can let Dustin know, and he will address it with that person to keep our lake safe. Okay, so let's talk to Bob, who is going to talk about the trustee elections this year, which is a little different because we have to do it online, and Bob will tell you all about that.
Hi, this is Bob Williams. Thank you, Jeremy. I want the membership and all the people who are thinking of becoming members to realize that there are 15 people chosen. Not all at the same time, but they are chosen to be trustees on the lake. And every year, 5 of them their terms come to an end. If they wish to return, that's a possibility. Many times we don't have a lot of people knocking at the door to want to come in, so it's a good thing that many of our trustees stay on from year to year, but many of them would like breaks, and they have other things they'd like to spend their time at. This is a something that you do as your honor. You join, and what you receive is what you do for the association. Lake St. Catherine's trustees this year are going to be Jim Canders and Jeff Crandall and Jeremy Jones and Martha Buffett and Mary Jo Teeter and Bob Williams. No, and Mary Jo doesn't make it just yet. Excuse me. There's just 5: Martha and myself. Just would like to tell you that the association, even though you may not be a member, you're welcome to visit our meetings and sit in and maybe gather some interest. And as some other trustee decides that they would like to have a timeout period, you get put on the list and try your chance at being an excellent trustee. The 5 this year are all incumbents and wish to be on the one slate of 5, and that's going to benefit the shortness of our meeting and such, because most of the time, if all 5 want to return, we do have another opening, so it does behoove you to put your name in if you're interested, and the president, Jim Canders, will select you for an opening that we have for our lost trustee, Phil Pope, who is going to be tremendously missed. I guess that's all I wish to add to this right now. Just get involved with the association. We try to get members spread out from one end of Little Lake right straight up through to the north end of the Big Lake, and we'd like to have a diversified membership group if we can muster it, and most of the time we do a pretty good job at it. You will really like it if you come in. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thanks, Bob.
Right.
So the little wrinkle that we have this year is that we need to vote for the slate of candidates that you see in front of you. What we've done is set up a form. You can see the link there. Don't worry about having to write that down. We'll post that so it's easy for you to click on it. You'll be able to access that link to vote for this slate of candidates until 8/8 of 2020. So that's 2 weeks from today at 5 p.m. And to vote, you'll need to be a member in good standing as of today. And that's why the form will ask you your name and email address so we can confirm that. And then you can vote yes or no on the slate of candidates. And then we'll post the results of that later that evening to let you know. So thanks, Bob. Okay. So we're wrapping up here, but we're going to do a Q&A session. So what we did was, since you can't be there, this is the time where we usually open up the floor to questions. And we want to let you have a chance to ask questions of us. So we set up a little form where folks could submit their questions so that we could answer them for you here tonight. If there are any questions that you have that we didn't answer in this, or you'd like to learn more about, just email us at our website, info@lakestcatherine.org, and we'll get back to you. So these represent the 8 questions that we received from our online form, and then we'll go through those for you. So the first one up is from Cindy, and Kemi's going to answer this one about the boat parade.
Hi again, it's Kemi, and I thank you for the questions about the boat parade. This year, because we had a few little things to change, it might have gone a little differently than normal. But we appreciate your interest, and we are considering looking at the route and seeing what would be a better avenue to follow. through the discussion, we came up with that one of the original boat parades started back in the 70s and 80s. And I personally don't remember exactly where the starting was. If anybody in the lake community has that information, we might be able to see if there's a better place to start the boat parade. We've also considered putting in having a lead boat, like that the boat parade can follow, and that might help with the timing, might help with the location, and we're trying to keep things open because of these different times. We're just really glad that we were able to do it, and we hope that we can always improve upon things. So we appreciate your interest in the boat parade. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Kemi. Okay, so this one's from Holly with an idea of how to increase membership by soliciting membership from property renters. We've noticed a little bit of an increase in folks that are renters, friends and family members of property owners have started joining the association, which is great. And what we've been talking about is maybe rewording our selections for membership to actually state, this is a membership level for a renter. This is a membership level for a friends and family of property owner, and then tweak our online form a little bit so it's a little bit easier for those folks to fill out the membership form. Anybody who wants to become a member or donate to the Lake St. Catherine Association, we welcome that. So this is a good way to maybe make it a little easier. We've also talked about making a one-page kind of leave behind for renters, property renters. So if anybody out there that is watching this today rents their cabin or their camp on the lake and would like to help with this initiative, please let us know. We'll send you some one-page flyers that you can have at your camp for folks to see and say, hey, you come to this, you come to Lake St. Catherine every year for many years, and if you want to help support the lake, you can, and here's a way to do that. So thank you, Holly. That's a great suggestion, and we have been talking about that and are looking into it for next year. This one came in anonymously, which is fine. You could put your name in if you wanted to or not. So how far from a dock should personal watercraft stay when just cruising by, and does it depend on speed? So the first part of that question is yes. You need to, if you are traveling faster than no wake speed, you need to be 200 feet away from something in the lake, whether that's a swimmer, another boater, a dock, the shoreline. If you're going faster than no wake, you definitely need to be doing it very slowly, and you shouldn't be any closer than 200 feet to the dock, to a person, to another boat. Then the next question. Yep, go ahead.
Yeah, real quick. Just if you look at the sign down at the boat launch, it specifically says within 200 feet, it's 5 miles per hour, and that is all of the no wake slow zones of 5 miles per hour. And if anybody wants a one-page description of the no wake zones, the shallow areas, the identification of the bays, we do have that. So if anybody would like that, anybody new to the lake, it's just a one page. It's an outline of the lake with a lot of really good information. Just let us know, and we'll get that out to you.
All right, thanks, John.
Okay.
It's like I stopped the presentation here. Let me pull it back up real quick. Okay, is the slideshow back up?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. And one note I want to make on this question for the first part there. As I mentioned earlier about Dustin, our game warden, we had a conversation with him and we put a big long blog post on our website. So if you go to our website and do a search for boating safety, that posting will come up and it'll have all the Vermont rules and all the specific safety rules that are specific to Lake St. Catherine. So one of the things you'll see in there is about returning to your dock if you're bringing a water skier out and into some of the bays that you would normally have no wake zones. So please see those important exceptions to some of the rules in there specific to Lake St. Catherine. And again, that's on our website. And then are there any regulations about building a permanent deck on shorelines? Yes, there is the Shoreline Protection Act that regulates building things near the lake shore. So to do something like that, you would need a permit from the state, and you would also need to look at a permit from the town for building. Then we have a question from William about water level, and Mary Jo's going to take that one.
Okay. Thank you, William, for your question. So the lake does fluctuate between spring runoff and throughout the summer, depending on the weather. Typically, our driest time of year is around September. And the lake does go up and down. We are a spring fed lake as well as the tributaries that come in. As far as the dam at the far end of the lake is a spillway. It's not adjustable. It's a permanent height, permanent fixture that's been there for, I don't know, many, many years. To build a dam that was adjustable would be extremely costly. I believe you'd have to go through the Army Corps of Engineers and many federal regulations, not to mention our local Vermont State Fish and Wildlife and Department of Environmental Conservation. I really don't know how they would feel about that. Having the lake at its natural state where it does fluctuate, I believe they probably feel that it is a natural state and they would not want to alter that. We have issues, as Mr. Latour may know, as he lives on the Lily Pond. We have beaver issues up here, and we spend a lot of time early in spring making sure that they do not dam up the water so that there's no ingress or egress from the Lily Pond to the main lake. But they do a good job at raising the water level if they're successful. So that's something we need to keep in check. The only thing I can really think of is to make it so that your dock is adjustable if you put it in that earliest spring where the water is high, and then you can adjust it lower or a step down. But a dam is an interesting concept. They do have it up on Lake Bomazine. I believe that was there from when they were using it as a small power station. And I don't know if they actually adjusted anymore. So it's not really an answer. It's just more comments, I suppose.
Right. Thanks, MJ.
Yeah.
Okay, so we got the next grouping of questions are all about the Little Lake. So I'll show them all to you and then we'll kind of comment on them kind of collectively. So we heard from Bob. Do you ever plan on doing anything to help the Little Lake achieve its goal of getting deeper? We had a message from Dan about uniting the lake associations to rally to save the Little Lake. We got a message from Joan. Is there any chance that the aeration of Little Lake will continue? And from Carol asking if we could do a milfoil treatment in the Little Lake. So I think you've heard from the answers or the presentations that were given earlier in our presentation here that We are looking to work to help in Little Lake. We've got an idea of how to help with milfoil. To go to Joan's question about the aeration, that was controlled by the Lake St. Catherine Conservation Fund. They had a permit for a number of years to do that. They started that in 2012. It ended in 2018. At that time, they reapplied for the 2 permits that they currently are under review by the DEC. So that's not something that we're doing as far as the aeration, but that will be a topic of conversation at the meeting that we have set up on the 25th. To Dan's question, we are, we've reached out. The associations have reached out to each other to see if we can do something for Little Lake, and that's what that meeting is about on the 25th. One of the issues for the Little Lake is sediment, and again, that will be discussed at the August 25th meeting. And that's Bob's question there. And if we go to Carol's question about treating for milfoil in the Little Lake, I think Jeff addressed that. We presented a 3-year plan to the Conservation Fund to say this is how we would propose treating in Little Lake. Again, I'm sure that'll be a topic of conversation at the meeting coming up in August. So I hope all the folks that ask questions about the Little Lake understand and see that we are trying to work to help with the issues in the Little Lake, and that's what we're trying to do. So, and that's what that meeting is for, coming up on the 25th. And we will give you more information on that as we get closer. And obviously after, we'll be able to post that meeting and show you the results of the discussion. So I think with a couple of flubs, we made it all the way through to the end of the presentation. And we did it in 1 take. So that's great.
Motion
so
for
if we,
adjournment.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
All right, so thank you, everybody. We appreciate you watching our video, and well, hopefully we'll see you on the lake. Thank you. Thanks, everybody. Thanks all the trustees. Good job, everybody.
Thank you.
Take care.